If you want healthier plants that take up way less space and get way bigger yields, you've got to train your plants. Welcome back to Ray Ray's Garden, y'all. I hope you had a fantastic Father's Day. Because it's mid-June, that means we got a lot of plant maintenance to do, starting with training. Training a plant means making it go where you want it to go. There's a lot of different ways we can do this. Trellising, staking, tying up vines using something like I got going on here. Things like espalier walls or gigantic tomato walls, or just simply pruning and pinching. There is a lot of benefits to training plants. I mean, better airflow, more sunlight, bigger yields, those are all really important. But things like easier maintenance and making the best out of small spaces are probably the biggest wins. Training plants is great for vines, fruiting crops, even indoor plants or ornamentals. Probably the most common way to train a plant is by using a trellis. There's a lot of types of trellises you could use. I prefer to use these gigantic cattle panels. They're fairly cheap, they work really well, and you could do a lot of different things with them. Things like cucumbers, beans, melons, or for me, tomatoes. These are things that work really well on a trellis. Or you can do these arch trellis entryways like I do on my garden beds. Another super common way of trellising is by using stakes. It really is just like it sounds. You're gonna stick a stake in the ground next to the plant and then tie up as you go. Something like an indeterminate tomato plant is gonna get super tall, which means super heavy. So instead of that heavy fruit causing the plant to go like this, we're actually gonna keep it upright, and that stake is not only gonna provide support, but it's gonna teach that plant that we want it to go straight up, and eventually that plant will do what we tell it to do. So when people say staking, they're oftentimes talking about a single stake. But there's something called the Florida weave, which you're basically running rope or string across multiple stakes to create this little matrix that allows us to do something like this. If you notice, this little guy is kind of crooked, and one of the advantages of the weave is once it's tall enough, like maybe up to here, I can start to push that guy. And the little strings, I could in theory even tie the little plant to the string itself exactly where I want it to be. That's a huge advantage to using Florida weave. I might as well do a little weeding while I'm in here, y'all. So this is my blackberry bramble, and what I have here are these fasteners, and I have just metal rope going through here, and every spring I just go in here and tighten these up. I haven't quite done it yet this year, as you can tell, but what I'll do is I'll take that entire rope off, I'll come back through and properly push all these up, and that just brings this guy up, keeps everything off the ground, and helps everybody get some sunlight. And so what I'm gonna do is I am going to use this lattice back there to help train these guys to weave in and out of that lattice, which to me, that is very similar to using the Florida weave. As far as what you can use to tie your plant to your trellis, your stake, whatever, the sky's the limit, y'all. You can use these really awesome, handy, reusable tomato clips. You can use jute, which I happen to be out of right now, but I pulled this from a failed craft project. I bought this gigantic roll of string for like $1 at a garage sale. It was like that big when I got it. I've used it for years, and I think I got a few years left in it. The one caveat is, whatever you use to tie your plant to the stake, the trellis, whatever, make sure you don't go too tight. The last thing you want to do is cut off that plant or accidentally kill it. By leaving a little bit of room for growth, that plant can easily maneuver in there and get bigger without causing any major damage. Try and use things that are flexible. This white string that I showed you from the garage sale, it's not nearly as flexible as jute, but it will work, especially if you tie things really loose and allow a lot of wiggle room. And you want to be gentle. Those peas that we were just looking at there, I want you to see what I did. I tied that white string above, I came down and loosely tied it at the base of the plant, and then I just sort of wrapped that plant around that string. These are sugar snap peas. They have tendrils just like a cucumber, and they'll grab on themselves. So when I say be gentle, you don't have to be crazy obsessive with this, but what you do need to do is show these guys where you want those tendrils to go. Training is a process, y'all. It's not really a one and done. In fact, once you get these guys in the place that you want them to go, sometimes they'll take over and do it the rest of the way. Things like these sugar snap peas and cucumbers, they definitely have their own trellising system built in, those little tendrils. Tomato plants and peppers, however, you gotta keep tying them up. This little cucumber here, y'all, I want it to go up this vertical trellis. Look, we're gonna be as gentle as we can with these guys, but the reality is you are accidentally gonna break a stem or a leaf eventually. Thing is, plants are resilient. Don't overthink it and just keep rolling. It'll grow more. So what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna go ahead and train this guy that I want him to go vertical. I'm gonna use a good old-fashioned grainy Smith knot here, and I'm gonna get him closer to where I want him, and then snug and cinch this down, y'all. Just like that. Pruning and pinching are also types of training, because you're trying to develop a pattern of where you want that plant to go. And in the case of this little tomato plant, it's way too young for me to want to start trimming anything. But if you can see this little guy sort of growing in the armpit of in between the stem and the branch, that's the beginning of a sucker. And a sucker gets its name because it's sucking all the nutrients away from the rest of the plant. Thing is, you can either clip them or use that to your advantage. I've got this gigantic cattle panel trellis that I'm literally gonna grow tomatoes and tomatillos across. It's 12 foot long and goes up, I don't know, maybe 7 foot high or so. And I am going to use a lot of those suckers so I can get as much growth as I can. Another issue, or maybe misconception, is you have to buy special trellising items to be able to trellis, and that's just not true. I mean, look at these old bamboo stakes. A friend of mine was clearing out their little bamboo patch, and I got like a whole back of a truckload of them free a couple years ago. They've lasted a long time. I've used them in all kinds of different projects, and this is the future home of my bean plants. This is an old upcycle panel with some chicken wire on it. I actually can't remember what I originally used it for, probably for some sugar snap peas, but I found it when I was cleaning out my woodshed, but I attached it so I can help grow that little zucchini right there. And as you can see, I gave him a little string and encouraged him to go up that way, and hopefully I can train it to go right up into that trellis. But I've got chicken wire on the bottom of this entire garden. It keeps the rabbits out. I actually have all these panels hinged so I can get in and out of there, especially in the spring and fall. But really, this entire garden is a gigantic trellis. I mean, my peppers, I tend to tie back here, especially the serranos. Serrano peppers grow really tall and thin, and then they start to bush out, almost like a vine. They're not a vine, they just kind of look like that. But having this trellis back here makes it real easy to tie them right to that chicken wire. Even this potato box back here, it might be kind of hard to tell. I'm going to open it up, but I'm using chicken wire both on the front and back side to help weave the plants. Let me show you. I actually grow sugar snap peas in here. They have fixed their own nitrogen, and it just supercharges this bed. These things will grow out of control. They'll fill this entire box before they die off. In fact, they'll start popping out them holes, and they'll get all the way to the top of that trellis sometimes. It is amazing to watch these things grow, but they can definitely get out of control. What ends up happening is they sort of fall towards the front of that chicken wire because they're trying to access the sun. You see that string right there? It's actually affixed to the back of that chicken wire, and it weaves in and out of the plants, sort of holding them back. As you can see, I got one that fell out there, one that fell out right there. And if I didn't weave these guys, they would just be unmanageable. And so using that little floor to weave style, it's really helped me big time to better manage my taters. Training your plants, whether you're using a trellis, a single stake, or whatever else you find around the house, is a fantastic way to maximize your yields, better use your garden space, and helps you maintain a healthier and more aesthetic garden. If this video helped you, I'd appreciate a thumbs up so more people can find this video. Drop your trellising ideas in the comments. We'll catch you next time. Ray out.